There's a certain kind of silence in a marriage that's louder than any fight. It sneaks in slowly, through late dinners eaten alone, through goodnight kisses that land more on air than on skin. That kind of silence had been living in my house for months. And that morning, as I sat at the kitchen table watching the toaster eject a slice of blackened bread, I knew something was officially wrong. Burnt toast. That was the smell that marked the beginning of the end. I used to laugh at people who said they just knew when something was off. Now I understood. It was like the house itself was tired of pretending. Even the appliances had given up. "Ryan, did you forget to set the timer again?" she asked, walking in wearing a shirt that wasn't hers. White, oversized, smelled like cedarwood and arrogance. I was supposed to believe it was mine, even though I don't own a single shirt like that. I sell forklifts for a living. That shirt belonged to a guy who drinks espresso and calls people champ. "Yeah," I said, forcing a smile. Guess I got distracted. She didn't hear the sarcasm. She was already halfway through her protein shake, tapping on her phone with the kind of intensity you only reserve for someone who isn't your husband. Her name was Lauren. We'd been married 7 years. No kids, just a couple of goldfish who probably had a more honest relationship than we did. She used to look at me like I built the sun. Now she looked at me like I was standing between her and the sunroom. "Big plans today?" I asked. Her eyes flicked up from her phone. Same as always. Except lately, same as always didn't include me. I sipped my coffee. Watched her gather her gym bag and keys with military precision. She paused at the door. "Don't forget we have dinner with the Millers tomorrow." "Oh, I thought we canceled." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Of course not. Why would we?" I didn't answer. Just nodded. Watched the door click shut behind her. The house sighed. I pulled out my phone. Opened the folder I'd labeled Receipts. Photos. Screenshots. A GPS ping from last Thursday. A blurred picture of Lauren's car parked outside a downtown condo that definitely wasn't on her yoga route. And a name. Tyler J. Reed. The guy who sells wellness branding and apparently makes house calls. Frequently. The day I stopped trusting Lauren wasn't the day I found the messages. It was the day she started lying badly. People forget that trust dies with 1,000 paper cuts, not one deep wound. She used to be subtle. Lately, she didn't even bother pretending. I closed the folder. Sighed. It wasn't just the toast that was burnt. You ever look someone in the eyes and feel like you're watching them lie in high definition? That was Tyler J. Reed. The first time I saw him was purely accidental, or so I thought. I'd taken a long lunch, decided to surprise Lauren at her favorite salad bar. She always said their zesty kale wrap could cure depression. I figured I'd grab her lunch and maybe win back half a smile. That's when I saw them, her and Tyler, laughing over smoothies on the patio. He had perfect teeth. One of those guys who unbuttons his shirt just enough to say, "I lift weights," but not so much that HR gets involved. She reached across the table to touch his wrist. Not a flirty gesture. No. It was worse than that. It was familiar. I didn't say a word. Just walked to my car and sat there until the warmth from the engine felt like a fever. Back at home, I decided to ask a harmless question. Harmless, like a bear trap covered in frosting. "How's the new trainer at the gym?" She barely looked up from her book. "Who?" "Tyler." A 2-second pause. "Oh, he's not my trainer. He's more like a holistic consultant." "Holistic?" I echoed. "Yeah, he helps me align my goals." "Well, his goals look pretty aligned with your thighs," I muttered. She laughed. "Jealous much?" "No," I said slowly. "Suspicious." She stood and left the room. Just like that. Like suspicion was a passing breeze, not a storm on the horizon. The next day, I installed a second GPS tracker in her car. Not because I didn't trust her, but because I finally trusted my instincts. I didn't want to be the guy who threw out accusations without proof. I wanted to be the guy with evidence so clear, even the defense attorney would say, "Yeah, that's fair." And the tracker didn't disappoint. In just 1 week, I had timestamps and locations that didn't match her schedule. She wasn't training. She was aligning goals at his place every Thursday afternoon. A condo with a rooftop view. Tasteful. Pretentious. And exactly where she spent 2 hours last Thursday while I was in the garage rotating our tires and listening to the slow unraveling of my marriage. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I wasn't ready to yell. I was preparing to bury. Not her. Don't get dramatic. But something. Her image. My belief in us. The story we told people at dinner parties. Something was about to be lowered into the ground. And I was building the coffin. People love to say, "Trust your gut," like it's some kind of magical wisdom oracle living inside your torso. Mine didn't whisper. It screamed. The following Saturday, Lauren said she was going to a women's leadership brunch. I smiled, nodded, kissed her cheek, and said, "Lead on." She left in a blue dress I'd never seen before. Brand new. Still had a security tag tucked behind the left seam. I waited 10 minutes, grabbed my keys, and followed the tracker on my phone. She didn't go downtown. She didn't go anywhere near a brunch. She went to a gated community 2 neighborhoods over and parked right outside a unit with faux Mediterranean arches and a driveway that practically screamed rental property with delusions of grandeur. Tyler's condo. I parked a block away and walked. Slow. Calm. Like I was on my way to borrow sugar. My pulse, on the other hand, was running a marathon. I didn't knock. I didn't want a confrontation, not yet. I just crouched behind a shrub like a middle-aged detective with slightly less dignity. And sure enough, 10 minutes later, I saw them. Through the curtain. The shadows moved too naturally to be innocent. Laughing. Lounging. Her head tilted back, his hand brushing her cheek. The kind of gesture you don't do with someone's wife unless you've made peace with being a villain. I took out my phone, hit record, and got the whole scene. Not graphic, just damning. And that was when my second betrayal arrived. Kyle. My best friend. We've known each other since high school. He's been with me through thick and thin. He helped me move into this house. He stood next to me at my wedding, handed me tissues when Lauren's dad called me a discount son-in-law. And there he was, walking up the path. Hoodie, sunglasses, bottle of wine in hand. He rang the doorbell like he'd done it 100 times. Lauren answered. She hugged him. Too long. He kissed her cheek. Too slow. Tyler opened the door wider and waved him in like he was a roommate coming home late. And just like that, my best friend walked into my wife's affair like it was a Saturday potluck. I stood up, walked back to my car. The whole world had flipped on its side, and the only thing upright was my resolve. This wasn't just infidelity. It was a team effort. There's a moment when betrayal becomes entertainment for them. Not the shock, not the guilt, not even the fear of getting caught. Just the smug security of people who think you're too slow, too stupid, or too sentimental to notice what's been happening right in front of you. That's what hit me on Sunday morning. Lauren was humming. She never hummed. Not unless she was genuinely relaxed. Like, I'm cheating on my husband with a guy who does yoga shirtless and gets wine delivered by his friends relaxed. She made pancakes, her apology breakfast special. Blueberries, cinnamon, powdered sugar dusted like snowflakes across the top. A meal with the emotional depth of a cover-up. Morning, babe, she said, flipping one onto my plate. Big day today? Just the usual, I replied, stabbing the pancake like it owed me money. Might swing by Kyle's later. Her hand hesitated mid-pour with the syrup. Barely noticeable. But it was there. Oh, she said. Isn't he out of town? I smiled. Is he? She blinked. He told me something about a weekend fishing trip. Fishing. Cute. Unless they were using wine corks as bait, I wasn't buying it. I kept my face calm. Civil. I even ate her pancake. Because now I had a new plan. I wasn't just going to confirm the betrayal. I was going to unravel the whole web. I was going to find out how many people were in on the secret and how long they thought they could keep me dancing in the dark. After breakfast, I told Lauren I had errands to run. She waved me off with a kiss and a smile that had all the sincerity of a wax figure. As soon as I was out of the driveway, I called Kyle. No answer. I left a voicemail. Hey man, just checking in. Wanted to talk. Nothing urgent. Hit me back. I didn't expect a reply. What I wanted was to watch him squirm. I knew he'd see the missed call and wonder just how much I knew. That's when people start making mistakes. Instead, I drove across town to a cafe near Tyler's office. Not his gym. His office. Because as it turns out, wellness consultant is code for smooth-talking parasite with a business license. He ran something called InnerSpark, which marketed itself as emotional reset therapy. It had all the red flags of a cult, minus the robes and Kool-Aid. I sat at the corner table, ordered coffee, and waited. Tyler showed up around 11 a.m. No rush, no stress, wearing that same white linen confidence like it was tailor-made. He greeted the barista like they were lifelong friends and ordered some sort of mushroom-based elixir. Then came the kicker. He wasn't alone. Lauren arrived 5 minutes later, sunglasses, yoga pants, and a smile that made me want to flip the whole cafe table. They sat 2 booths behind me. I turned my phone on record again. I didn't need video anymore, just audio. I told Kyle you're getting close to figuring it out, Lauren said, sipping her drink. Let him, Tyler replied. He's got no spine. That's why you picked him in the first place. Lauren laughed. Don't be mean. He's not spineless, just safe. Safe. Like a backup parachute. You know, he asked if we could go to counseling last month, she continued, the sound of her straw hitting the lid as she stirred the drink. I almost laughed. You did laugh, Tyler said. They both laughed. I turned off the recording. I had enough. No yelling. No storming the booth. I just stood, walked out the door, and left them to sip their betrayal like it was some overpriced chai experiment. That night, I sent Kyle another text. Still out of town? Let's talk soon. No reply. But 2 hours later, my phone buzzed with a notification. Someone accessed the folder labeled Receipts on my private cloud. I'd set up a trap the day before. Password shared with Lauren's tablet, just subtle enough to look like an accident. Inside the folder? Doctored screenshots. A fake email thread between me and a lawyer. Dates for a custody battle that didn't exist. Photoshopped images of Tyler with someone who looked suspiciously underage. I wanted to see how fast panic traveled. It didn't take long. Lauren came downstairs that night with tears in her eyes. Hollywood tears. The kind that come without redness or runny mascara. Ryan, we need to talk. Oh. She looked like a high school student trying to explain a broken vase. I think we both made mistakes. I leaned back on the couch. Do tell. She sat beside me, clasped her hands. I saw something. An email. Are you trying to set me up? To take everything? No, I said calmly. I'm trying to get clarity. What kind of clarity includes fake legal threats? I guess the same kind that involves Thursday afternoons at Tyler's. Her mouth fell open. A sound came out, part gasp, part stutter. She wasn't ready for me to throw the truth in her face. She was expecting denial, bargaining, maybe even begging. Instead, I handed her a piece of paper. It was a list of names. Hers. Tyler's. Kyle's. Even Linda and Paul, our dinner party friends who apparently knew everything and said nothing. What's this? She asked, scanning the list. The guest list, I said. For the reckoning. Then I walked upstairs and left her sitting there in the living room, wondering what comes next. Some people say revenge is a dish best served cold. I disagree. It's best served calculated, with printouts, timestamps, and a witness list. And maybe, if you're feeling generous, a cheese platter. The next morning, I took a vacation day. Told Lauren I was needing space. She nodded solemnly like we just shared a heartfelt therapy breakthrough. She even offered to give me the weekend to think, which was cute, considering she thought this was salvageable. She packed a small bag and said she'd be at her sister's place. She kissed my cheek, just soft enough to make it confusing. That fake affection, now that was the part that made my skin crawl more than the affair. Once she left, I got to work. I wasn't interested in confrontation. I wanted confirmation. And not from my wife, no. That ship had already burned, sunk, and been repurposed into a Lifetime movie script. I wanted it from Kyle. So I texted him one last time. Let's be honest. Tonight, 8 p.m. My place. No smiley face. No punctuation. Just enough ambiguity to leave him guessing whether it was a trap or a heart-to-heart. At 7:58, he knocked. Of course he did. Kyle was never late for anything. Not even betrayal. I opened the door and greeted him with a cold beer and a warmer lie. Relax, I said, stepping aside. This isn't an ambush. Kyle smiled nervously. Hey, man, I'm glad you called. Things have felt weird lately. Weird, right? Like when your best friend starts loitering around your wife's boyfriend's condo. We sat down. I handed him a beer. He looked at the label like he needed it to delay eye contact. Listen, Kyle, I said, setting my bottle down. I just need to hear it. Straight. His face twitched. Hear what? Don't do that. Don't insult me by playing dumb. I've seen the footage. He froze. What footage? The one where you walked into Tyler's apartment last Saturday like you forgot the code to my loyalty. His mouth opened, closed. For a moment, I thought he might cry. But then he did something worse. He leaned back and exhaled. Okay, he said softly. I didn't know how to tell you. You could have started with the truth. He shrugged. I wasn't sleeping with her, man. I swear. I just covered for them. A couple times. That made me laugh. Not the belly kind. The tired, disbelieving kind that ends in a cough. You covered for them? Tyler's my cousin. Ah, plot twist. Of course he was. We grew up together, Kyle continued. He asked me to watch his back. I didn't know it was Lauren at first. By the time I figured it out, it felt too late to switch sides. So you picked his. I picked silence, he said. Not betrayal. Funny, I said. It felt like betrayal. Kyle looked down. I'm sorry. I'm not interested in apologies, Kyle. I'm interested in closure. He nodded, slowly. So, what now? I stood, walked to the shelf, and picked up a small black notebook. Now, I said, flipping it open, we do some spring cleaning. Inside the notebook was a list. Not just the guest list anymore. It was the itinerary, the outline, the blueprint for how to dismantle a web of deceit with dignity and a touch of flair. I handed him a copy. What's this? He asked. A map. To your redemption. He flipped through it. This is a plan. No. This is the reckoning. He looked at me like I was proposing a heist. And in a way, I was. I'm hosting a dinner, I said, sitting back down. Next Friday. Everyone's invited. You, Lauren, Tyler, Paul, Linda, even the neighbors who pretended not to hear the screaming matches. What kind of dinner? The kind where secrets stop being secrets. He frowned. Are you sure this is the right way? I raised my beer. It's my way. He sat there, quiet, then finally nodded. Okay, I'll be there. I smiled. Oh, you'll do more than show up. You're going to tell your side. He looked uncomfortable. Good. Uncomfortable meant human. I wanted him human when this all came crashing down. No smugness. No smooth talking. Just trembling truths, spilled like cheap wine. After he left, I called a caterer. If I was going to expose years of lies over roasted duck and mashed garlic cauliflower, I wanted it plated right. Then I did the one thing no one expected. I invited Lauren. Formally. An envelope. Her name in calligraphy. A wax seal. Inside, a card. You're cordially invited to a night of reflection, revelations, and roasted duck. Friday, 7 p.m. Formal attire. No phones. No lies. Sincerely, your husband. For now. And on the back, one line. Be sure to bring your appetite. The truth is being served. There's something poetic about making people dress up for their own downfall. Friday came like thunder. The house smelled like rosemary and roasted garlic. Classical music floated through the air like I'd rented the ambience off a wine label. The dining room table, set for 8, gleamed with silverware polished to a level of passive aggression only betrayal could justify. At 6:58, the doorbell rang. It was Paul and Linda. Right on time. Because of course they were. Paul wore a blazer, like he thought this was a job interview for decency. Linda wore a smile that could curdle cream. The kind of smile that said, I know things, and I'm just helpful enough to pretend I didn't. Wow, Linda said, stepping inside. Everything looks so elegant. Deception tends to class up the place, I said with a nod. Drinks are on the cart. They blinked but obeyed. At 7:03, Kyle arrived. He looked like a man walking into a courtroom wearing cologne to hide fear. He met my eyes, gave a half nod, and took a seat at the far end of the table. Then came the headliner. Lauren, wearing a black dress she hadn't worn in years. The one I bought her for our 5th anniversary, the one she said made her feel dangerous. How appropriate. Tyler followed behind her like a second-rate Bond villain. Hair slicked back. A tie that probably cost more than my car payment. His hand grazed the small of her back like a brand. He had the audacity to offer his hand to me. I stared at it. Sit down, Tyler. He withdrew, chuckled. Just trying to keep it civil, man. Oh, it'll be civil, I said. Just not comfortable. Everyone took their seats. Eyes bounced from glass to plate to me as I stood at the head of the table with a decanter of red wine. I poured myself a glass. I'd like to thank you all for coming, I said. It's rare to get every character in one room without paying a therapist. A nervous chuckle rippled around the table. Tyler smiled like he was auditioning for a smirk competition. Lauren's hands tightened around her wine glass. We're not here to eat, I continued. Well, not just food. Tonight, we're serving truth. Ryan, Lauren began, voice soft. Let's not do this. Let's absolutely do this, I cut in. You see, I used to believe the worst thing a person could feel was loneliness. But I was wrong. The worst thing is realizing you were the only one who didn't get the joke. Tyler shifted. Paul coughed. I turned to Kyle. Kyle, let's start with you. Tell everyone what you told me last week. He looked like a kid caught shoplifting. I knew, he said. About them. Tyler and Lauren. Lauren flinched. I covered for them, Kyle admitted. A couple times. I didn't want to get involved. Not getting involved is involvement, I said. It's just betrayal with cleaner hands. Linda opened her mouth. I raised a finger. Please, Linda, hold all judgment until dessert. That's when I'll read your texts. Her face drained. I turned to Tyler. You want to say something, wellness whisperer? Tyler leaned back, fingers steepled like a man trying to lawyer his way out of shame. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I nearly clapped. Classic. 10 points for the script. And yet, here we are. I love her, he added, looking at Lauren. She looked down. Do you? I asked. Because love doesn't hide in other people's homes. It doesn't creep in through the back door of someone else's vows. I didn't plan this, Lauren said softly. You plan Thursdays, though. I snapped. You plan smiles and lies. You plan the fake arguments, the sudden solo errands. You plan me out of your life one move at a time. Silence. I made mistakes, she whispered. Mistakes are things you regret, I said. You celebrated this. You used my trust like a ladder and kicked it down once you reached the roof. No one spoke. The air was thick with tension and wine. I walked to the sideboard, picked up a folder. Inside, copies of texts, GPS records, photos, audio transcripts. I made a copy for each of you, I said. A scrapbook of how you helped kill a marriage. Lauren stared at the folder like it might bite her. Paul finally spoke. This is dramatic. I turned slowly. So was inviting me to the same club where you watched my wife make out with her ex. His face darkened. I'm not here for closure, I said. I'm here for clarity. I looked at each of them. You are the sum of the secrets you keep, and I've carried all of yours for far too long. I lifted my glass. So here's to the truth. It doesn't need dessert. Then I drank. No one else did. The dinner ended without a bite taken. Lauren cried. Tyler cursed. Kyle apologized again. Linda didn't speak. They left, one by one, out into the night. The house felt lighter. And I didn't feel angry anymore. I felt something much more dangerous. Ready. The weekend passed like a silence no one dared disturb. No texts. No emails. Even the sun felt muted, as if the sky itself didn't want to witness what was coming. Lauren hadn't come home. Neither had regret. I spent Sunday morning boxing up her things. No yelling. No dramatic playlist playing in the background. Just cardboard and tape, and the sound of reality being folded into corners. There's something oddly peaceful about dismantling a life. Maybe it's the clarity. Maybe it's the finality. I didn't cry. I didn't drink. I just cleaned house, literally and metaphorically. Kyle dropped by that evening. I've told everyone, he said. What I did. That I knew. I thought maybe it would. I don't know. Give you some relief. It doesn't, I said. But I appreciate the effort. He nodded, looked down, and turned to leave. As he reached the door, I added, You're still my friend, Kyle? Just not in this chapter. He paused, then left. Monday morning, I returned to work. People smiled with that awkward politeness reserved for men they suspect are falling apart inside. I smiled back. Hey, Ryan, my boss said, trying too hard to sound casual. Everything. Good? Never been better, I replied. And it was true. I had never been more focused, more alert. Heartbreak, I discovered, is rocket fuel when aimed correctly. And I had one final destination left to hit. That night, I pulled out my old toolbox. Not the literal one, the figurative one. The one full of information, pressure points, and quietly collected leverage. Tyler had clients. Rich ones. Private ones. He sold transformation and confidentiality. I knew things he didn't know I knew. One email to the right client. One Dropbox link full of audio files and receipts. I didn't need to smear him. I just needed to reveal him. And I did. By Tuesday morning, his company website was under maintenance. By Thursday, 2 of his sponsors pulled out. By Friday, InnerSpark was spiraling like a wellness cult without incense. Lauren didn't call, but I saw the headlines. Allegations mount against self-styled wellness guru. I made myself coffee. Smiled. I never saw Lauren in person again, but I did get a letter. Handwritten. Classy. Ryan, it began. I don't expect you to forgive me, and I don't expect you to ever understand. I loved you. I still do. But somewhere along the way, I confused security for silence. You didn't deserve what I did. You deserved honesty. And I couldn't give you that because I couldn't give it to myself. She went on. Regret. Remorse. Rationalization sprinkled like salt on an old wound. At the end, she said, You won. You got your revenge. I don't blame you. I blame me. But I hope someday you find peace. And I hope you remember the good parts, too. Because I do. I remember them all. I folded the letter, set it on the mantel, and walked outside. The wind felt different that day. Lighter. People always ask, would you do it all again? Yes. Because every lie revealed was a step closer to clarity. I didn't become bitter. I became clean. I didn't hurt anyone. I just opened the door and let the truth walk through. And when it did, it burned down the house they built on my back. Now I sleep like a man with nothing left to lose. And everything left to build.